Sorry about that. I would have blown the phone out of my hand if I didn't stop it. My father wanted the best for me. On my wedding day, he didn't spare any expense. None. His little girl was getting married. And he was going to be there in tux and tail and everything. And it was going to be lavish. And it was. It was 450 people there. A little much for me. But I had no say. I had no say. He wanted the best for me. And that costed, I'm sure, a pretty penny. Back then. And we actually got, our reception was down at the Hellenic Center, which is just down the street from me. We took out the whole entire rooms. All of them. Because we were so huge. But he didn't spare any expense. And the next day, because we were living in his double, and the next day, we cut across the lawn, and he had invited everyone back the next morning for a massive breakfast, or as he would say, brunch. And when I say massive, I mean massive brunch. And my mother even scolded my then husband, my ex's brother, caught him at the hedge and said, "Go put on a shirt. This is not a garden party. This is not a beach party. Go put on a shirt." Everything my mother, my father did was always proper. My mother more so. It's always proper. Proper. The proper cutlery, the proper glasses, the proper. You would swear we were Southerners. You know, we came from the South where everything is so proper. For my mom anyways. My mom grew up with money. My father grew up with none. But he sure as shit made some for himself. He, as my mother would say, he dotes on you. And I think she was kind of angry about that, all growing up. The fact that he paid a lot of attention to me and would take me out and would show me off to people. But my mother had her son, my brother Danny, her Vaudal, who couldn't do no wrong. Good grief, in her eyes, nope, could do no wrong. He could steal whatever he wanted to, or do whatever he wanted to, and he could do no wrong. I used to laugh at that too, and I'm like, wow. So, kind of balanced out. But my dad, for years and years, he put his life on the line. Every single day. Every day. And every single day I would run to the door and I would jump up on him and give him a hug and a kiss. And I would say to him, "Don't go, Daddy, don't go." And he would say, "Kitten," and put me down and kiss me softly on my forehead. "Daddy has to go and save people today." What if Daddy was here and something happened to other people? You wouldn't want that now, would you? And I'd say, "No." "Well, then Daddy has to go." And he'd give me a kiss on my forehead, give me a little pat on my tushy, and send me off. like Linda Lou or who or something, like where she gets patted off with a drink. Same thing. As I got older, I understood. I totally got it. I was never afraid for my father or for my family, who also was in fire. I was never afraid. Don't ask me why. When people say about being in policing and fire or whatever, that their families are fearful, or I don't know, which is something I wasn't afraid of. It didn't cross my mind because he didn't let it cross my mind at all. He didn't let that part cross my mind. Instead, he brought me into that life to show me what that life is like. He would never let me join, ever. I wanted to be a fireman since I was probably about 6, 7, maybe. Always. Maybe even sooner than that. I was not a Barbie type girl. I was a fire engine, that was me type girl. I was a tomboy. Total tomboy. Craig, Garth, Bobby, as my friends, my best friends. And I didn't really like playing with dolls. I like to do boy things and be tough and show my daddy, look at me, daddy. He'd smile. That's my kitten. There she goes. But he would never ever let me join the force. I'd always say, growing up, I want to be a fireman. And he'd shake his head, no. I said, what do you mean, no? No. You're not while I'm alive will you ever be one. I said, well, you can't stop me from doing something. He said, yes, I can. What do you mean? Yes, I can. I certainly can. My brother could have been on the force like that. Snap your fingers that easy. The next day, he could have been on the force back then. And he didn't take it. I wanted to crack him in the head and say, what is wrong with you, jackass? I want that, jackass. He was 4 years older than I was. Oh, I was appalled. What? You refused that? What? Oh. But karma is something interesting because his son, his firstborn, guess what he's in? And I leapt for joy when I saw that. I honestly taken aback. Oh my God. Oh, fire, here we come. Bringing up the rear. And I know in heaven my dad was doing his jig for sure. And I know his dad was smiling down saying, that's my son. But no, my daddy did not want me close to any type of danger. So he would not have me join the force. He did not want me close to danger. That was it. Simple. It was explained to me later on in life. I went into other things. Then I went into policing. Should have let me go into fire, Dad. I wanted to emulate, be like him in every sense of the word. That's how good of a man he is and was. And I will always continue to try to live up to him. Not a fictitious person he is. No, what he was and who he was. He helped so many people with careers, with everything he could. He helped That's what he did. He didn't say shit if his mouth was full of it. Like I said, he didn't. And every single day in the summertime, I would run down to the fire station where he was to meet him. And he'd pick me up and put me on his shoulder, carry me out to the car, and we'd go home. I got so used to being around firehouses. It was my second home. I was always at a firehouse. They would show me everything about the rigs and what they did and everything else. That when I was in my teens, I was able to tell you every single thing about a rig. What they did, the pumpers, everything. The pressure, all of the gauges, everything I was able to tell you. Because I really wanted to be a fireman. But back then, oof. There was a big stigma against that. Today, not a problem. There's women in there. There's friends in there. There's friends of mine that I know that are in there. Growing up, we would go to cottage parties, and all the kids would go. And they would make big heaping pots of spaghetti sauce. And we would be swimming and doing all of that stuff as kids do. And the men would be in the kitchen drinking and cooking the meal. And the women would be watching the kids swimming and playing and having fun. Some of those friends that were there are firewomen. And before I got sick, I volunteered with the Help Santa Toy Parade. And I loved it because I felt like I was honoring my dad. And because fire is my family. Though my family's retired or have passed, fire is my family. Will always be my family. So to the most wonderful, funny, kind-hearted, huge kind heart, smart, loving, protective, compassionate, well-rounded, moral compass, loving family, everything. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. And I love you. A bushel and a peck. A bushel and a peck. And a hug around the neck. A barrel and a heap. I'm losing all my sleep over you. I know you're up there, and I know everybody's up there. And you're all having fun. Smoke that stogie and have that beer. Because today is yours. Same with you, Dan. And on that note, again, I wish everyone a happy, happy Father's Day. And I hope that you can say the same things as I've just said about your father as I've said about mine. Cheers, peace,